Today is finally the day. Hello fellow creatives, it is day one of SSSVEDA, or my 30 Days of Painted Elephants project. It is a nice cool day here in the studio. It's a bit rainy today, so it's nice and overcast and not too hot, which is how it can be quite often here in my studio here in Houston. But I'm excited to get started, and I'll pop in here every once in a while when I find that there's something maybe interesting to mention or talk about, and I'll pop in and out, and we'll see how this very first vlog goes. Okay, so I think for my first project for my 30 Days of Painted Elephants is I'm going to start with one of my smash canvases. So what these are they are old paint night canvases that I have from when I used to paint with paint night. They used to look kind of like, stuff like this. So it's something that I used to do in Edmonton, as I used to be a teacher there. And I don't want to throw away these canvases, but I don't really love what I've painted because these were for beginner painters who weren't very established, so they had to be a little bit simple. Though I loved teaching them, they're not necessarily the keepsakes that I want to have and put on my walls. So whenever I have extra paint on my paint palette, I use it to just smash all over one of those old canvases. And this is one of the ones that I've just been smashing on for a little while. So rather than starting with a white plain canvas, I'm gonna start with this one for my first vlog. So this has a little bit of texture on it. It has some paper towel that's been painted over, and it's got this really cool texture that I just love texture in my paintings. So this is going to be my jumping off point for my very first 30 Days of Painted Elephants vlog. what I'm loving is the texture of the paper towel, but it's very disjointed and patchy. So I'm gonna make a really bold move here, and I'm going to cover the entire elephant in paper towel and see what kind of cool, funky textures I can develop. So what I have to do now is, rather than using just plain old white paper towel, I get to paint the paper towel and stain it and make it the same colors as the palette that I have here on the painting, because if I just went onto it with white, I'm not really sure that it would give the same effect. So I get to go and play with this and darken it up a little bit with some water and some paint and have a lot of fun. Okay, so now I have my stained and painted, very wet pieces of paper towel. And I did that in a couple different colors just to give it some variation, because you just never know when you're gonna need a little bit of change in depth. And can I show you how happy my hands are? I love it when my hands are like this. So now I'm gonna have to either be very patient and let these dry and go do something else, or I'm going to maybe try and dry them with my heat tool. We'll see how that goes. Okay, lesson learned. So when you have these, after you've worked in the studio all day and you have your your daily napkin that is your junk napkin, and it gets everything on it, it gets really crinkled and really wrinkly and whatnot. And so it's kind of hard to use the next time. But the lesson here is, if you pre-paint these and then dry them with your heat tool, you get this really beautiful, nice, flat, painted texture. So depending on what you're going for, you may want to actually intentionally do this and then dry it with the heat tool so that you've got a little bit more of a flatter surface to play with, versus, it's really hard to get this back to nice and flat after your day, unless maybe if you wetted it. But this is sort of my towel for all my mopping today. So just a little lesson learned there. Now, what I always tell people is, when you're using a decoupage or even a gel medium, although with a gel medium you can just use the bin, what I always do is I always have one paintbrush in my studio that is for glue only. And I did use it here today for paint because it was handy, but this is my glue paintbrush, and I always use only it for glue, because you just don't want to get all of your paintbrushes all gummed up with glue. So definitely devote one paintbrush in your studio to be the glue paintbrush. As you can see, these brushes, they just don't go down very far anymore, because this has just become so stuck up with all the glue. So to save myself some heartache, what I'm going to do, because I know it's going to get all covered up, is I'm going to take a picture of my painting so that I can get a good idea of what it looked like before I covered it all up. Because I will be very sad if I can't sort of recreate the color scheme and things that I was kind of going for here, right? So just take a picture of it for reference for later. you ready to see it? There it is. There's my first 30 days of painted elephants painting. It is still literally dripping with paint and my hands and arms are covered in it, and this is my happy place. I've had a wonderful day doing this and I look forward to tomorrow.